What is up, car addicts? So for the past few months, I've been getting questions as to which cars are the best for racing in each class currently in 2024 after the Chop Chop DLC drip feed has come to an end. Obviously a bit has changed since last year, so I decided to put all of them in one video to make it easier for you guys. So these cars are mainly chosen based on Bruffy1322's track testing and some of my personal experiences in racing as well. I will leave the link to Bruffy's channel down below in the description if you guys haven't subscribed to him, and you really should subscribe to him. He is undoubtedly the king of car testing for GTA by far. Now keep in mind that the cars chosen are factoring in a combination of handling, acceleration, and top speed for optimal track performance. So again, the cars are not chosen based only off acceleration or only off top speed or short airport drag race comparisons and stuff like that. It's a combination of multiple factors for the overall best cars for actual racetracks with turns. Also, for those of you who are on a budget in GTA Online, I've decided to add in my budget car recommendations as well for players who can't afford the pricier cars at the top of some of the classes. And the last important thing I want to mention here is that HSW cars will also be included in this list, but I'll also mention the cars without HSW as well. So for those of you who don't know what HSW is, it's basically high performance upgrades that make certain cars go significantly faster. Now the HSW upgrade is currently only available on current gen consoles, which is PS5 and Xbox Series X/S. However, it can still be turned off by the race hosts, so you kind of need to have the best cars sort of for every scenario, whether you're on old gen or current gen consoles. So we're going to start with the slower classes first and then work our way to the faster ones. So let's go ahead and get started with the bicycles class. I know, the most boring one that's probably never raced, but it's still worth mentioning. The best one for racing in this class is any of the 3 race bikes, and yes, the race bike is faster than the coil inductor bike. Now keep in mind that you actually don't need to buy any of these as they aren't customizable, so you can just pick any of the 3 race bikes in the selection screen if you ever come across a bicycles race. Moving on to the utilities class, the best one is the Saddler pickup truck. So you can steal and store this truck off the street for free or buy it for $35,000. The utilities class is probably one of the least race classes up there with the bicycles class, but definitely worth having in your garage since it's essentially free. Now on to the vans class. We have the Gang Burrito and the Rumpo Custom. Now you only need to buy one of these. I personally recommend the Gang Burrito as it's a little bit cheaper and it's not as top heavy as the Rumpo Custom, which has a tendency to go on two wheels and tip over a lot. So yeah, overall Gang Burrito. Next up, onto the Go-Karts class, which is more of a subclass in sports, but it is kind of raced separately. So there are only 2 in this class, which are the Vito Modern and the Vito Classic. And the Vito Modern is significantly faster in the Classic variant, both in terms of overall track performance and top speed as well, so that's the one that you ultimately want to own. Moving on to the compacts class, we have the BF Club and the Brioso RA with the HSW upgrade if you're on current gen. Now, these 2 are pretty closely matched, however the BF Club is a lot easier to drive with better handling, whereas the HSW Brioso's main strength is straight line speed, which is really the only time I would recommend picking it over the Club is when you have tracks with longer straightaways where it can actually use that power. As for the budget car for this class, it would be the regular Brioso RA, but keep in mind that it's still way off the pace of the BF Club. If you truly want to compete in that class, you're going to have to unfortunately spend the $1.3 million on the BF Club or the $1.2 million on the HSW Brioso. Now, on to the Coupes class. We have the Fathom FR36 and the Karen Previon, which are both extremely close on most tracks, plus the Sentinel XS with the HSW upgrade if you're on current gen. Now, for most tracks, the FR36 and the Previon will be faster due to their substantially better handling. However, for tracks with longer straightaways / top speed sections, you're going to want to use the HSW Sentinel XS. The main issue with the Sentinel XS is its handling. It's pretty poor, and for those of you who don't know, HSW only affects straight line performance and braking. It does not affect handling at all. So anyways, for the budget car for this class, it would be the Ubermacht Zion, which is a car you can get off the street and store for free. Now, it is a ways off the pace of the top two cars, but still not too bad since it's essentially free. Moving on to the muscle car class, we have the Vigero ZX/ZX convertible with the HSW upgrade. They both pretty much have the same performance, and the Buffalo EVX with the HSW upgrade as well. Now, the HSW Vigeros are the king for most tracks. However, if HSW is turned off or you're on old gen, you're going to want to use the Dominator GT. Now, as far as the budget car for this class, it would be the Pizwater Dominator in my personal opinion. This car is free for all players and can still compete pretty well with the top 10 cars depending on the track, although it is a bit tricky to drive. Now, onto the sedans class, we have the Schafter V12, the Reinhardt, and the Shinkwell Mila. So these three are extremely close in terms of performance depending on the track, so honestly just buy the one you think looks better. And as for the budget car for this class, it would be the Schafter V12 from those three. And to clarify, keep in mind that this car is in the sports class, but it is usable in sedan races, and it only costs $116,000, just an absolute steal for this car. Moving on to the SUVs class, we have the Tauros and the Vivinite with the HSW upgrade, or the Astron Custom with the HSW upgrade. Now, the Tauros is quicker on most tracks. However, the HSW Astron has a higher top speed with worse handling, and then the Vivinite is more for corner-intensive hairpin tracks where it can utilize its acceleration. So again, it's really track dependent as to which one to use, but obviously if you're on old gen or HSW's turned off, the Tauros is the one you're going to want to be in. And as for the budget vehicle for this class, it would actually be the Tauros at under $500,000, just an absolute steal for the performance this thing offers. Now, onto the Sports Classics class, we have the Turismo Classic with the HSW upgrade, and the Sterling GT with the HSW upgrade. Now, these two are insanely close on most tracks, so really just pick the one that you like more. Although to mention, the Sterling GT is a remove website car, so keep that in mind. Also, it's a lot easier to drive, so highly recommend trying to get that one from a friend or something in the LS car meet. Now, if HSW is turned off or you're on old gen, the best two cars to choose from would be the regular Turismo Classic or the Cheetah Classic. And same situation here, both are really closely matched, so just pick the one you prefer. Although to mention, the Cheetah Classic is a lot easier to drive and more consistent in comparison to the Turismo Classic, so keep that in mind. As for the budget car for this class, it would actually be the Turismo Classic. Sports Classics cars in general are not very cheap, and at about $700,000, the Turismo Classic is a very, very good deal. Moving on to the off-roads class, we have the Monstrosity with the HSW upgrade. This thing completely dominates the class with HSW, nothing's even remotely close. Now, if HSW is turned off or you're on old gen, the Drager or the BF400 will be your best choices. Now, keep in mind that the BF400 is in the motorcycles class, but it is usable in off-road races. Surprisingly, it only costs $95,000 and is insanely quick, especially if you're constantly pulling wheelies. Now, I will note that there are some custom races with deep water areas or aggressive obstacles where the BF400 just can't compete, and for those races, again, the best one will be the Drager. As for the budget vehicle for this class, I would suggest the BF400 for only $95,000. It's a fantastic deal. Now, onto the tuners class, which is more of a subclass rather than an actual class in and of itself, which is currently only comprised of cars from the tuners DLC. But anyways, the top cars are the Calico GTF, the Sultan RS Classic, and the Vector. Now, all three of these are extremely competitive, so just pick whichever one you like better. Also to mention, most of the pursuit races are a bit more top speed intensive, so the Jester RR is a popular choice for those in particular. Again, it really just depends on the track. However, if you can only purchase one as an all-round car, I personally recommend the Calico as it has the highest top speed of the top three that I mentioned, while also having good handling and acceleration to back it up. Now, as for the budget car for this class, there honestly really isn't one, as all of these cars cost over $1 million. So again, just pick one of the top cars I mentioned. If you can only buy one, again, the Calico would be the best pick, at least in my opinion. Moving on to the sports class, we have the Pinot La Courez with the HSW upgrade, This thing basically has top tier supercar performance due to its acceleration and handling, just completely dominates the class, it's not even close. However, if HSW is turned off or you're on old gen, the Italy GTO or the Pariah will be your best overall picks. As for the budget car for this class, it would be the LGR H8, which is actually free for players who have their GT Line account linked to their social club account. This car is very fast around corner intensive tracks with its good handling and acceleration, and can still wedge its way into top 15 on most tracks. Now, for the supercars class, we have the weaponized Ignis with the HSW upgrade, or the Cyclone 2 with the HSW upgrade, and on some more top speed intensive tracks, the Devest 8 with the HSW upgrade as well. Now, deciding which one to use is very track dependent, but for most tracks overall, the HSW weaponized Ignis is the one you're going to want to choose, and for tracks with longer straightaways, you're going to want to use the HSW Devest 8. Now, if HSW is turned off or you're on old gen, you're going to want to use the Progen Emerus, Benefactor Krieger, or the Garati Turismo Maggio. Now, these three are extremely close competitive wise. Deciding which one to buy is all personal preference. Now, I will say personally, at least to me, the Krieger is the easiest of the three to drive due to the fact that it's all-wheel drive, whereas the other two are rear-wheel drive and sometimes can step out on you if you're not careful on certain like bumpy turns and stuff. Now, there are some races where the Devest 8 actually beats the Emerus and Krieger, but again, for most tracks and situations, the Krieger is definitely the overall better choice if you're on old gen or HSW's turned off. Now, as for the budget car for this class, that would be the Dubachi Wagner in my opinion if you want a chance at competing with the Emerus and Krieger for almost half the price. Moving on to the motorcycles class, we have the Hakuchu Drag with the HSW upgrade. This thing is an absolute beast with ridiculous acceleration and top speed. Now, if HSW is turned off or you're on old gen, you're going to want to use the Power Surge. It completely dominates the class, especially if you wheelie. It gets insane bump boosts as well while wheeling, which is pretty wild. It has great handling, acceleration, etc. Now, as for the budget vehicle for this class, it would be the Batty 801 in my personal opinion. This bike only costs $15,000 and has good handling, and of course allows you to wheelie, which allows you to get up to higher top speeds to be able to keep up decently well. And lastly, we have the open wheels class. Now, currently we only have 4 open wheel cars in that class, and the Benefactor BR8 is currently the king for most tracks. Now, as for the budget car for this class, there really isn't one, as they all pretty much cost over $3 million each, so I would highly recommend waiting to buy one on sale, or hopefully to get one off a podium, prize ride, something like that. But anyways guys, hope this was helpful. Now you know the best cars for racing in every class, and maybe some vehicle classes you weren't too sure about. As always, I will update the pinned comment as newer and faster cars are released later this year. Thanks again for watching guys, hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.